You need facts, figures, scores, and scoops, and the truth.
Well, we're talking that burning topic that has been unfolding. It's been unfolding for years. I think 4 years we have been talking about it. And what is it that we're doing about it? The Afghanistan cricket women's team really just sitting by the wayside at the moment, waiting while the world watches on. We have Stuart Hess with us. He is a cricket writer for the Sunday Times. Stu, a warm welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, Romy. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Why are we still having this conversation about Afghanistan and their women's cricket team?
Well, basically because the ICC, the International Cricket Council, doesn't want to implement its own, I guess, regulations against the Afghanistan Cricket Board. And so we sit here with this situation as it is right now, which is tied up in geopolitical machinations, and it's put, member states like South Africa, England, and Australia in a very tricky position.
If it was a men's team, let's just say, for example, playing devil's advocate, would a whole lot of more been done, do you think?
That's very difficult to say. It's very dependent on I guess India's stance on this. India is the most powerful member of the ICC, the strongest financial member of that organization. So wherever India decide to go, that's how this would unfold. That's where any solutions will lie.
And I mean, ICC also remaining mum. Obviously, there's international attention now. Everybody's talking about it, but there just happens to be... ICC. Oh, that's it. Crickets. Can you hear them, Stu? Can you hear them? He's not impressed by your crickets there. But and now we watch and we wait. But why are we waiting so long for something to happen that countries are now saying, okay, perhaps if we do something, then maybe the ICC would wake up? Why does it need the international attention first?
That's how everything seems to work in the world.
In the world, yeah.
These people to protest, these people to we see it in South Africa with the different social issues. You need to be burning ties in the streets before the government goes, oh, there's a problem. I think from a cricket perspective, and I'm going to come back to the geopolitical side of things here, India is the most powerful member. It's the wealthiest member of the International Cricket Council. India has just opened up diplomatic relations, or is sort of creating and growing diplomatic relations with the Taliban government. And I'm going to say from a government perspective first, because we've got to link this. This is how it links back to the ICC. In December last year, they appointed a new chairperson, Jay Shah, who used to be the head honcho of the Board of Control for Cricket in India. Jay Shah is the son of Amit Shah, who is the Home Affairs Minister in India, and is the strongest ally of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Mm-hmm. If India is opening up the relations with the Taliban government, and last week there was a meeting that took place between India's Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister and the Taliban Foreign Affairs Minister in Dubai, if they are opening up relations at a governmental level, I think it's going to be very difficult for the son of the Indian Prime Minister's biggest ally to suddenly move against his own country and what they're doing. And that's where cricket is stuck at the moment. When you've got these geopolitical machinations occurring, what the ICC does as an independent organization, independent of government, but linked in this case, it makes it extremely complicated.
So why is it also? Because I called CSA, asked to speak to one or two of obviously the women cricketers, just to get their stance on what it is and what is their hope for progressive women's sport, not necessarily cricket, and everybody is kind of just, tiptoeing around. No, not right now. We're waiting for the ICC. We're waiting for this. We're waiting for that. And everybody has taken such a cautious approach. I'm a little heartfelt by that, especially as a South African in South Africa, based on our history. And also just in August, while we celebrated Women's Month, that was when the Taliban imposed even harsher restrictions, mandating women to cover their faces, forbidding them to speak publicly, etc., etc. So why is it that we're also sitting here as South Africa, being able to probably sympathize or empathize more and not having a voice?
Because we're all tied up with what goes on at international cricket. It's not as simple as South Africa just coming out and standing aside from everybody else and going, oh, we adopt this stance. If that has not been adopted within the International Cricket Council, South Africa is going to be left isolated. And it's a very tricky time in world cricket at the moment when you're discussing, I guess, cricketing politics. And for South Africa to stand aside now is going to leave it isolated while other countries sort of move on and just carry on. Right now, everybody is kind of buttering up to India because it's the most powerful nation in cricket. And if India has got diplomatic relations with the Taliban, you need to be careful as a cricket organization how you maneuver because you don't want to isolate yourself at a very difficult time. It's very easy to jump up and say, South Africa, with our history, this should be easy for us. We should just adopt a stance that says this. But the world, South Africa doesn't exist by itself. There's an entire world that operates, so it will continue to operate. And it's up to South Africa to, I think, what Riaan Richards has said in the statement that came out last week. Richard Gould, the ECB chairman, said the same thing, to work within the structures of the International Cricket Council and say, look, what can we do to firstly highlight to Afghanistan the importance of the women's game, but also to hold the Afghanistan cricket board responsible. So here's something actually that they can do. One is that Afghanistan at the moment is in violation of its articles of association with the ICC. It should be banned. Based on that, because it's isolated, because it doesn't have a women's team. It shouldn't be getting funding from the ICC. And yet, they're going to be playing at the Champions Trophy in a month's time. And again, I'm going to come back to this and I'm going to keep repeating it. When you've got the most powerful entity in a sport, and it's unique cricket. Rugby doesn't have this, football doesn't have this, tennis doesn't have this. You are so reliant on one country for all your funding. No other sport has this, and you've got to work very carefully, tread very carefully as in how you manage those relationships. And if the Indian government is opening up diplomatic ties with the Taliban, you better know how you want to move so that you don't find yourself isolated and that cricket in your country doesn't get ended.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, when Afghanistan was given full membership in 2017, they got an exemption on the condition that they would make to develop women's cricket. But obviously they haven't. I mean, the women's team have been disbanded after the Taliban came back in 2021. The ECB there, I think they've come up with a couple of solutions. They say place an immediate condition on the membership status of the Afghanistan Cricket Board to deliver women's cricket by a certain deadline. Withhold a minimum portion of the ICC funding from the ACB, support the exiled Afghan women's players and allow them to compete as a refuge team. Does that sound like a strong enough message or action for you?
Yeah, look, that's the first step to take. I mean, what I'm saying, if the ICC implements its own policies here, which is, look, you are in violation of your articles of association and you should be sanctioned. If they do that, then yes. And part of what the ECB says then, what you just read out, is what they should be doing. Do you see them doing it? I believe there's a task team that has been appointed. That is just a step to kind of kick the ball down the road. Until Jay Shah hears from his dad about what he can do. And sorry to keep repeating myself here, but he's going to wait for his dad to tell him what to do. And then you will see whatever the ICC, whatever moves the ICC will make. But the rest of the member countries can go and say, listen, chaps, you banned Sri Lanka a few years ago when the government stepped in there and wanted to run the sport, took the Under-19 World Cup away from them. South Africa had to host it. Why isn't that same energy being applied here? Well, in that instance, the ICC was under the chairmanship of a New Zealander. This time, the ICC is under the chairmanship of Jay Shah. And, well, I'm going to repeat myself.
I guess we're going a bit round in a circle. The world watches weights. Countries don't want to step out of line because, like you said, then they isolate the sport and cricket and you're not part of the brotherhood anymore. What happens now, though? I mean, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the women who all they want to do is do what they love, and that is to play cricket, but they can't. And so what does this movement now mean? I mean, as we all sit, watch and wait, for the women cricketers, I mean, as I don't know.
Well, they've been in Australia.
Correct.
So,
So-
they are exile, but they've said they've had more help from the Australian Cricket Board than the ICC, which is unbelievable. It's unconscionable that the ICC has not reached out to them on some sort of level. And the fact that
but they're in Australia now. Can't they just play cricket?
Well, so there's actually going to be a game on January 30th before one of the Ashes games. They're going to be playing a World Dream 11 or something like that. So there's actually a way. So Australia are trying to do that. I'm trying to think of what action South Africa could take. Do you remember
Become naturalized, become Australian, pray for them, you know.
That's what they've had to do. Someone had to learn English to get jobs. They're basically refugee status. They've got asylum.
Do you think, though, Stu, that they should become that refugee status team and play?
I mean, that's an option that's available. It's very difficult because you would have to be hosted in a country somewhere. Right now, Australia is obviously doing that, but how long is that sustainable for Australia?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure. Basically, what's needed here is increasing pressure, I think, on the International Cricket Council. So we've had pressure being put on the English Cricket Board by those 160 MPs that signed that letter. We've had Gayton McKenzie here in South Africa try to do the same with Cricket South Africa. I think both those instances, the Peter Hain letter that was written to Paletsi Moseki, I think all of those instances, I think the institutions being targeted are the wrong ones. I think those are soft targets. The ECB is a soft target. Cricket SA is a soft target. It's one thing. It's one way to get publicity around it. That's fine. But what you should really be going after, what McKenzie should be going after, what those 160 MPs should be going after, what Peter Hain should be going after, is the ICC. Make it an International Cricket Council issue, because that is what it is.
It really
that
is
the body that has authority over the sport.
You've hit the nail on the head.
That is the body that the Afghan Cricket Board is in they're in violation of at the moment by what they are doing. Make it an International Cricket Council issue. Raise it there. Raise the voices globally on that, so that you force someone like Jay Shah to come out with something a whole lot better than just, I'm appointing a task team.
So thank you so much, Stu. You've hit the nail on the head there and covered quite a bit here for us to have a robust conversation around that. Thank you so much for your time. And that is it. I guess nothing much changes, really. If you think about it, it is what it is. We're still having this conversation. ICC need increased pressure. The women are trying to organize themselves in a safe haven that's now Australia. And we really, as he said, need to put pressure where? ICC.
Well, we're treading water, and it's a sad place for women's cricket. That's the morning show from you on Omni Africa.
Can't we have another 30 minutes? Because I still have so many questions.
I know. This is not the last time we'll talk about this. Not the last time we'll talk about this. Cool. Speak to you tomorrow.
Cheerio.
This is Omni Sport Africa. We're putting African sport first. Live and on demand on your phone. Data free on the MTN network in South Africa. T's and C's apply. And online at omniaudio.africa. Because reading about it tomorrow won't help you today.